2024 campaign. I thought it was inappropriate that Trump skipped it. I thought that was totally wrong. I have no idea why somebody would want to watch a pre-recorded week-old video of Trump instead of a live presidential debate. I thought that's just really strange that people would watch that instead of this debate. I thought the debate was good. I thought it was exciting. I thought it was spicy. I thought it was a lot of fun stuff that happened. Overall, I think Vivek Ramaswamy won the debate. Even I agree with Vivek so much on everything except foreign policy. He's got this sort of very sort of weird sort of libertarian type foreign policy that I disagree with. But in terms of debate and actually debating and stuff, Vivek Ramaswamy won. I think DeSantis did well. I think Mike Pence did well. Christie did terrible. Asa Hutchinson, terrible. Like Christie and Asa Hutchinson they're not even Republicans. They're pretty much Democrats. It's like, get off the stage. Like, anyway, so Nikki Haley, I thought, started out really strong. Nikki Haley started very strongly when she started blaming the GOP for the debt, and then blaming Trump and the Republicans for starting the inflation and driving out the debt with the CARES Act, trillions and trillions of dollars. And then she had some statistics she cited about adding tens of millions of people to entitlements and food stamps and stuff. That was a very, very strong start from Nikki Haley. I was like, yes, go Nikki Haley. She's right. I criticized Donald Trump throughout his entire administration. Donald Trump added $8 trillion to the debt. That was something Nikki Haley brought up, was Donald Trump added $8 trillion to the debt in 4 years. Very, very strong point by Nikki Haley. The problem is then Nikki Haley went totally rhino and totally went off the rails and went total establishment and the rest. So I can't support Nikki Haley after that. I won't support Christie. I won't support Asa Hutchinson. I won't support Nikki Haley. You know, I simply will not support them. In terms of right now where I'm at on this, by the way, I am basically right now I think I'm still with DeSantis. I support DeSantis, then Mike Pence, then let me think about this. Vivek Ramaswamy's up there, except his foreign policy is just too much for me, and the presidency is really a foreign policy position, so that's very difficult. I thought Pence started out very strong. Mike Pence did great, I think, throughout it, but Mike Pence started out very strong when he was talking about the Trump-Pence administration and how Mike Pence said he was very, very proud of the Trump-Pence administration policy. I thought that was a great point. He is a proven conservative. Mike Pence started out by saying, hey, I'm a proven conservative. You guys should support me. You guys should come with me. And because he is an actual proven conservative. I think that's a good point. It's like Vivek Ramaswamy may be a conservative. He may just be somebody that's saying the right things, and he'd be somebody else in office. He hasn't been tested like Mike Pence has. I thought that was a very compelling point when Mike Pence basically brought that up and said, hey, look, I'm a proven conservative. I've got a record. And he went through sort of his entire history and record, and he is. Mike Pence is one of the strongest, proven, rock-solid conservatives that was on that stage that's actually proven. There are others. Ron DeSantis, I think, has proven himself as well. A lot of the rest of them really, really don't. Really haven't proven themselves. And so what I'd like to do is here towards the end of this video, I'm going to create a list of all of the candidates that were up there, and then I'm going to rank them from where I'm at. But yeah, I really appreciated Mike Pence bringing up Social Security and Medicare. I thought, that Mike Pence is one of these guys that's genuine and he's honest, and he'll level with the American people, and he'll tell the American people that, look, Social Security and Medicare are going insolvent. They're going bankrupt. We can't just do this thing like that Trump wants to do where it's like, Save the entitlements, save the entitlements. It's like, no. So I thought that was great that Pence brought those up. Oh man, Vivek Ramaswamy's comment on energy policy was so good. When Vivek said drill, frack, burn coal, I was just like, yeah, go Vivek. I just loved it. And Vivek made a couple of points on energy and climate change, calling climate change a hoax, saying that we need to drill, frack, and burn coal. I thought that was great. I loved it. I thought that was oh my gosh. I couldn't get enough of it. And then he made the point at the very end. His closing statement was great. Vivek Ramaswamy's closing statement was the best of any closing statement, where he said that here's the truth: fossil fuels are critically important for human prosperity. That's actually right. It was really good to hear him say that. Now Pence's response to Vivek was basically calling him a rookie. He called Vivek a rookie, untested. He's going to be on the job training. I think that's a fair point. I think that's a fair attack on Vivek. We got this GOP primary happening in Montana where we got Tim Sheehy running, and I don't know if there's even, and then Jeremy Migland and maybe Matt Rosendale. But, these candidates that have never been in office, you like them. They say the right thing. They're not career politicians. There's a lot of positives. But how many times have we as conservatives had a candidate that in the campaign says the exact right thing, says all of the right policy positions, seems like a strong conservative, and then when they're in office, they're no longer a conservative? And that's my greatest fear with Tim Sheehy in the Senate. It's my greatest fear with Vivek. I think that's a fair point for Mike Pence to say, look, we need somebody who's an actual we can't take chances. We need somebody that's an actual proven conservative. That was a great point by Vivek. Doug Burgum. Doug Burgum was a very, very weird guy. I don't just like in terms of his personality. It's like, dude, who are you, Doug Burgum? And he basically bought his way onto the stage by giving people $20 if they donate to him $1. That's the only way he got the right number of voters or donors to be on the debate stage. But I mean, Doug Burgum made some good points throughout the debate. I like the fact that Doug Burgum was bringing up the 10th Amendment. He brought up the Constitution. He brought up states' rights. I thought that was a very strong position. I thought that was a very, very strong position that Doug Burgum made constitutionally. But just kind of a weird guy, just kind of a weird sort of strange guy. Wasn't very impressed with Doug Burgum. Really wasn't that impressed with him. Other than, again, him bringing up the 10th Amendment and some of his constitutional arguments. Asa Hutchinson is also a weirdo. And Asa Hutchinson has this nasty comb over. Like, why does Asa Hutchinson have some disgusting comb over? It's like, dude, Asa Hutchinson, shave your head, just go bald, dude. And then Asa Hutchinson made some despicable comments. Asa Hutchinson calling January 6th an insurrection and saying that Trump is ineligible or might be ineligible or something because of the 14th Amendment because Trump led an insurrection. It's like, dude, are you a Democrat? Are you a left-wing radical? What the heck, Asa Hutchinson? I don't like Asa Hutchinson at all. In fact, I'd probably vote for Democrats over Asa Hutchinson. God, just a weird. I do not like Asa Hutchinson. He's maybe last on my list. Probably last on my list. Again, and I'll make a list. The one thing that really bugged me, too, about this debate was how they brought that kid on for Young America's Foundation, Yaf. And I'm like, and he asked, what are you gonna do to convince the young people that Republicans care about climate change? Young kids care about climate change. It's like, yeah, I'm sure younger generations do care about climate change because a lot of their parents are lying to them, telling them we're all gonna die in 5 years because of some trace gas in the atmosphere. It's so absurd. And I was like, that was so inappropriate. I thought YAF was supposed to be a conservative organization. I thought Young America's Foundation was a conservative group, and they're asking about climate change. I thought that was ridiculous. I thought that was totally inappropriate question. Absolutely horrible. How are you going to calm the fears that the GOP doesn't care about climate change? I'm not going to calm the fears that the GOP doesn't care about climate change. It's a hoax. Exactly what Vivek said. It is a hoax. DeSantis, I thought, was pretty strong throughout the debate in terms of taking control of the debate and really controlling the debate. And there was that one point, the one point that there was this point in the debate where they asked DeSantis whether he agreed that Mike Pence did his constitutional duty on January 6th. And oh my word, DeSantis' response, I thought that was the biggest crowd response. When DeSantis responded and basically said, nobody cares about January 6th. 2024 is not about January 6th. Who cares if Pence did his duty or not? We're not here to talk about January 6th. And then DeSantis said, look, if we allow the Democrats to make 2024 about January 6th, that's not going to go well for us. We need to have a positive vision. And it sounded as if basically DeSantis had originally just refused to answer the question. And this happened a lot throughout the debate where people would get questions and then they just refused to answer it. And it's annoying to me. I find it annoying when these candidates are asked a question and they just go off on whatever script or speech they had and they refuse to answer the questions. I don't know. I think most people don't like that. It's just kind of off-putting when these candidates get asked a question and then they just straight up don't answer it. They straight up just refuse to answer. But on that January 6th question where DeSantis basically said, yeah, I am refusing to answer questions. I'm not going to answer your question on January 6th because that's not what this is about, and I'm not going to allow anybody to make this campaign about January 6th. Oh, my goodness. The crowd went wild. The crowd went absolutely wild. I thought very, very strong performance by DeSantis when he said no. Again, Vivek calling climate change a hoax. I thought that was a very strong position by Vivek. Chris Christie trying to attack. By the way, nobody attacked Trump. Trump hardly came up. I was kind of surprised. Hardly anybody really even talked about Trump. I mean, he came up a little bit here and there, but it wasn't like a lot of what you see in the mainstream media these days where it's Trump, 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 Trump. You know, it's like you watch the Sunday shows and it's just 24/7 Trump. So that was kind of interesting. They didn't really talk about Trump. And so it's like Chris Christie was then just going in hard on Vivek. I don't understand why. Like, what does Chris Christie think is his strategy of just trying to viciously attack Vivek? Vivek's in like third place and Chris Christie's like in last. Why is he attacking Vivek so hardly? What sense does that make? Chris Christie was saying that Vivek is just like Obama. Vivek had this perfect response where he's like, well, why don't you hug me and help me get elected like you did to Obama? That was a really strong point by Vivek. I thought that was a great part of the debate where Vivek told Chris Christie, why don't you hug me like you hugged Obama and help me get elected like you helped Obama? Very strong comeback, but it's kind of a weird that Chris Christie is attacking Vivek. I don't understand the strategy there. Nikki Haley lost me. Nikki Haley said climate change is real. Nikki Haley literally said, quote, climate change is real. We've got Vivek up there saying it's a hoax, and then you got Nikki Haley saying climate change is real. And I'm sorry, I'm done with Nikki Haley. I can't support Nikki Haley at all. A lot of these candidates I do not like. You know, it's kind of weird. In 2016, I liked like 10, 15 candidates. You know, I liked most of the candidates in 2016. This time around, like, there's a lot of these candidates I do not like and wouldn't even support. You know, Chris Christie, Asa Hutchinson, Nikki Haley, Doug Burgum. Like, I don't like these people, you know. But yeah, when Nikki Haley said climate change is real, oh, that was so cringe. Because here's the deal, right? If you don't understand what's going on with climate change and you don't understand all of the corrupt influences of government money and how the Democrats are using global warming to try to push authoritarian left-wing agenda, then you don't understand what's going on in the world. You don't understand where we're at in this society. Like, yeah, if you say climate change is real because the climate's always changing naturally, it's like, okay, but that's not what she said. We were talking about man-made global warming, and she said climate change is real. So I'm done with Nikki Haley. I won't support. I won't support or like anybody that basically says climate change, man-made global warming is real. Without, I mean, you at a minimum you could say, sure, the Earth is warming and humans maybe are having some impact on it, but nothing, like, we don't know enough about it, and it's not as, and it's been way blown out, and there's a corrupt financial influence in the science on that, and it's being used for political, et cetera, et cetera. But to just say, oh, climate change is real, I'm done with Nikki Haley. Tim Scott, I thought Tim Scott really came off as maybe the most presidential, honestly. I thought Tim Scott, like, kind of rose above everybody else. Tim Scott kind of seemed like the adult in the room. There was actually even that one point where Tim Scott said, we don't need this childish back and forth, because, like, it was right after like Vivek and Christie were going back and forth or something like that. And Tim Scott kind of rose above it and said, look, we don't need this childish back and forth. And then he kind of, kind of moved on. I thought Tim Scott. Now on policy and sort of substance, I didn't think Tim Scott was the best. In fact, Tim Scott even bragged about America reducing its carbon footprint. And I was just thinking to myself, dude, nobody cares if we reduced our carbon footprint. Again, using carbon footprint and stuff. So I question Tim Scott, whether he really understands what's going on right now and where we're at as a country. If Tim Scott's up there bragging about reducing our carbon footprint, yikes, dude. And I don't, what the other thing that was weird is they never got all of the candidates' answers on really any questions. Maybe the one or two where they, like, asked them to raise their hands, but on, like, whether man-made global warming is going to kill us all if we don't ban fossil fuels, like, they didn't get everybody's position on it. I'm assuming Tim Scott must support man-made global warming theory, and Tim Scott is hard to say, but it seems like that when you're bragging about reducing your carbon footprint. On the abortion issue, I thought DeSantis was really good on the abortion issue, even talking about how, look, he won. He had a massive landslide victory in Florida. And then Ron DeSantis really going and flipping the script on the Democrats on abortion and talking about how the Democrats are the extremists with supporting abortion until birth. I thought that was a really, really strong point of the debate for DeSantis, was the abortion topic. One thing I really liked about Mike Pence is he's the only one that mentioned giving his life to Jesus Christ. Mike Pence was the only candidate up there that said the name Jesus Christ. Honestly, Mike Pence is maybe number 2 for me right now. I really, really thought Mike Pence did a good job. I think it's so important that our political leaders talk about Jesus Christ, talk about the importance of faith in God, and et cetera, because without that, we lose the core of who we are, and we end up turning towards, communism to fulfill the spiritual void. And so I really appreciated the fact that Mike Pence brought up that, saying that he gave his life to Christ. He even quoted scripture. He literally quoted the Bible. Like, Mike Pence was quoting the Bible during the debate tonight. Really, really appreciated that. Talking about a nationwide 15-week ban. The whole thing on that is, I kind of see what Doug Burgum's point was in terms of saying, look, it's a states' rights issue. We're Republicans. We're constitutionalists. This is up to the states. We shouldn't federalize the issue. I think that's a good argument. And then Nikki Haley on the abortion issue, she basically said, "Oh, well, nope, we can't support a 15-week national ban on abortion because we'll never get 60 votes in the Senate." She just came off as, like, defeatist. She was just totally defeatist, saying, well, we don't have 60 votes in the Senate, so nope, we shouldn't even talk about a 15-week abortion ban. And Mike Pence's response was, well, we just need a little bit of leadership, which I thought was really a good comeback, and I thought that was a weird tactic for Nikki Haley to take. Well, we don't have enough votes in the Senate, so we shouldn't support it. Not good. Again, I like Doug Burgum's position on the 10th Amendment and constitutional states' rights, talking about how abortion should be a state issue. The problem with that is that Doug Burgum basically said, look, it's a state's issue, and what they do in New York is going to be different from what they do in Iowa. And I was thinking to myself, it's like, okay, so New York is going to allow abortions at the right until the moment of birth, and like you're just going to be okay with that. That's the kind of the sense that I got from Doug Burgum's position on that. He was basically saying like, look, if New York wants to allow abortions up till the moment of birth, hey, that's fine. It's the state's rights. It should go. I can kind of see Pence's point where it's like, look, we should have at least minimum standards here for a national ban. Like, we don't need having abortions after 15 weeks. Okay, we don't need abortions at 9 months. Um, so I really really liked Vivek when Vivek was talking about. He brought up the mental health medications and the antidepressants. And he was basically saying like, look, we're as a country, like we don't need to take a bunch of antidepressants and a bunch of mental health medications. We need faith in God and bigger issues and purpose. That's the one thing I really liked about Vivek is he really gets this whole idea about how he really gets the idea about how we need spiritual beliefs, we need God, we need family, we need all those things, because otherwise everybody has this huge void in their heart and in their soul. Vivek is kind of the only guy talking about those sort of deeper, sort of bigger issues. Mike Pence does some too, but Vivek is kind of the only one that really talks about those bigger issues, which I think is why I think most people are going to agree Vivek won. The other thing, so there was this moment during the debate between Vivek and Mike Pence where Vivek was basically saying, we're in a very dark position as a country. We're in a bad spot. We need a national revival, basically, is what Vivek was saying. Is saying we need a spiritual revival. And Mike Pence, like, disagreed and said, no, the American people are good, God-loving God-fearing people, and blah blah. Mike Pence just said we just need a government that is as good as the American people. And it's like, actually I think Vivek is right. We've got millions and millions, tens of millions of Americans who are evil, that vote Democrat every election, who are evil atheists with no morals and would throw conservatives in prison. So I think Vivek is right on that issue. I disagree with Mike Pence, where it's just like, thank you for the sub, Anonymous. We got bigger problems than just the fact that our government doesn't reflect the American people. In fact, the government does reflect the American people in a lot of ways, and we got a lot of evil, psycho, wacko leftists in this country that do need to come to Jesus. I thought Vivek absolutely destroyed Chris Christie, and when Vivek and Chris Christie got into it, I thought Vivek got the better of him. I thought, again, that DeSantis moment where he said nobody cares about January 6th, and he basically refused to answer the question, which is kind of annoying. But then he made it so it's like, dude, no, yes, I am going to refuse to answer your question because I'm not going to allow this campaign to be about January 6th. And the crowd went wild. It was so good. I thought it was good that DeSantis agreed that Mike Pence followed the Constitution on January 6th. I thought that was a strong moment for DeSantis when he said ultimately he did eventually say yes, Mike Pence did his constitutional duty. I like that. I thought Asa Hutchinson attacking Trump for insurrection and being ineligible under the 14th Amendment is an absolute disgrace and a shame. I don't think in any way, shape, or form Asa Hutchinson should even be anywhere near a Republican debate stage. I thought Pence did a really good job when he said they were talking about foreign policy, and Pence said, "Look, if you don't think that America can protect our borders in America and have a good, strong domestic policy and also be the leader of the free world on foreign policy, then you have a pretty small view of the greatest country on earth." Oh, I was like, yes, get him, Mike Pence, get him, Mike Pence. Very, very, very strong position on Mike Pence because, yeah, a lot of these other, like the neo-isolationists like Vivek, and some of these others like Vivek, they're like, nope, we can't support Ukraine, we can't support Taiwan, we shouldn't help any allies, we shouldn't have allies, blah 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 blah. We should just focus on our own borders and focus on our own country. And Pence is like, dude, we can do both. Like, we can have a domestic policy and a foreign policy. There's nothing that says that we have to choose. Are we going to have a foreign policy or are we going to have a domestic policy? Very, very strong point by Mike Pence. So I thought that was really, really, really good job. Okay, let me go through my rankings right now. So I'm going to say DeSantis first. Then I'll say Pence. Then I'll say Trump. Then I'll say Vivek. Vivek is dropped for me, man, just because of the foreign policy stuff. I think, let's see, maybe Nikki Haley. Maybe Nikki Haley after that. Maybe Doug Burgum, then Christie, then Asa Hutchinson is going to be my last. That's 8. Am I missing somebody? I got Christie on there. Oh, Tim Scott. I'll put Tim Scott up here. Actually, Tim Scott's actually higher than a lot of these other people. Okay, so this is where I'm at, guys. This is where I'm at. This is who I support for the 2024 GOP presidential candidate, and this is in order. Number 1, Ron DeSantis. Number 2, Mike Pence. Number 3, Donald Trump. Number 4, Vivek Ramaswamy. Number 5, Tim Scott. Number 6, Nikki Haley. Number 7, Doug Burgum. Number 8, Christie. And number 9, Asa Hutchinson. That's who I support in that order.